Play.
Hi, I'm Kris McCann. I'm going to do a presentation on media in sport. There's several different types of media, that being TV and radio, newspapers, internet and social media. Media in sport. There's many different types of organisations that we know that promote sport, such as ESPN, Sky Sports, BBC Sports and BT Sports. The positive effects of media. Positive effects of media is why football has become such a big game is because of it, to be honest. Media generates a lot of money through this, such as when the UEFA have the Champions League, obviously Sky Sports have to pay them to have the authorised to play it. Just as BBC get a lot of money from Sky Sports for things like the World Cup, things like that. So when you promote these media types of events, you'll actually see their heroes, their inspirations playing the sport, which will increase participation. It also gives the teams that are playing a bigger fan base, because teams people all around the world can see these teams playing, not just in that country or that area. The disadvantages of media is, firstly, if your team's on television, you're not going to want to go and spend your money on that ticket. Why would you do that when you can go and sit there on your sofa and watch it for free? So this is dropping the attendance of the crowds at matches. Also, the media does have a tendency to influence people quite a lot. A prime example of this is when Fernando Torres was at Chelsea. He had the stick right from the get-go. Would he be able to cope with the weight on his shoulders and being the most expensive player bought by an English team at the time? And from that, a couple of games he didn't score, and people start to ask questions, as you can see there, saying, is he worth 50 mil? You can be the judge. A lot of people criticise him as well. Throughout the whole of his Chelsea time there, really, he was being criticised every game he played in the papers and media. And you could tell as the games went on, this was a massive weight on his shoulders. And what people forget to realise is Fernando Torres actually sent Chelsea into the Champions League final, which got them a lot of money. So in a way, the goals he scored actually paid Chelsea back for the money they spent on him. Because without that goal, they wouldn't have made it to the final, giving them their own Champions League win. The press. Sky Sports News, in my opinion, are the biggest organisation that we have in the press. They provide major things such as transfer deadline day, which has a lot of people watching on the day. They cover matches, giving you the score updates from 250 different leagues around the world, an average of 20 teams per league. You're looking at around about 2,500 matches around the world each week. So you can tell just from that sort alone how big the media is and how many people work for Sky Sports and how many people are working to give you your updates on the TV as we see it. Positive and negative effects of social media. The positive effects, as you can see in this below, I don't know if you can catch that, but it says, by Garland, an utterly brilliant reaction from Alves. Treat the racial burden with complete discipline. Basically what he's saying, what happened, Dani Alves had a banana thrown at him by a foreign team when he was playing in the Champions League. And Dani Alves' reaction to this was he picked the banana up, ate it and threw the skin back in the crowd. People said this was a very good reaction from him. He didn't rise to it, he didn't get angry, he didn't get fazed by it, he just reacted in a nice way that he did. And it actually inspired a lot of people. But a negative media is Ron Savage slated Alan Pardew and called him a broken man. I don't think this is acceptable for someone like him to criticise a professional such as Alan Pardew. It's not just down to the team, just down to the manager of why a team's losing. It can generally be down to the players as well. If they're not performing, it's only going to look bad on the manager. So it's not just him, he could be doing everything right, but if the team's not willing to perform for him, then what can he do? Kit and equipment development. Football kits have changed a hell of a lot. As you can see in this photo here, it is a baggy, kind of a baggy top. But as you in the one above that, it's a skin tight top, and they call it Cool Fit by Nike. Basically what this is it's got air holes in places like your armpits where you generate a lot of heat. This keeps you cool and it keeps you like from overheating, and it can make you ill if you do get too hot and you work too hard. Also, footballs. As in this photo here, it was literally a leather ball and it felt like kicking a brick. That one above it is a new one, and it's kind of made up now by suppressed air, fabric and sponge. Some people might think it's a bit too light to play with, but there's been a lot of controversy on the way the balls are developed and designed. In my opinion, they're not too light. If professionals can easily learn how to kick the balls, what types of shots to perform, and they can learn to play with those balls. Another development, as you can see next to the shirts, is the shin pads. The one below that was the old-fashioned shin pads, which is what was used. They were clumpy, horrible, heavy, weighed down the legs, and it wasn't practical at all. It was generally just for protection. But the ones just above that weigh no more than 25 grams, which is very light, and they are just as strong as the ones below. They don't snap. I've never known any pair of shin pads to snap. And they keep you just as protected with a nice sponge kind of absorbent shock layer just underneath the plastic. The next and final development I'm focusing on in the kit and equipment is football boots. As you can see here in these football boots, it looks like there's almost a steel kind of strip going across them, and they look big and clumpy, and they are literally like workman's boots as we see today. Whereas now, the ones as you can see there in yellow are the new mercurial vapors, and they are designed literally like a pair of socks. They weigh no more than 50 grams per boot, and they are very, very light. Some people say they're not really football boots because they're just too light, but if you really look at how footballers are now, they make you very quick and very agile, and they are very practical. Technology in sport. Areas I'm going to look at are goal line technology, vanishing spray, referees, radios, and other possible introductions to sports I'll also talk about. Hawkeye was one I wanted to talk about mainly. Hawkeye's tennis official system is the first and only ball. It tells you where it lands. The technology is now an integral part of ATP, WTA and ITF tennis tours featuring over 60 events across the world. Could this be introduced into football? Well, I think it could, because in football we have a lot of controversy on people like diving and penalty decisions and things like that. Now I think if you had this, we could generally tell whether that decision is correct or not, and it wouldn't stop the play because you'd have already stopped the play to make the decision anyway. How has it helped? Goal line technology in 2010 should have been introduced, because in that time, the World Cup, Frank Lampard hit a shot against Germany, it ricocheted off the crossbar, come back down and bounced out of the goal, but the goalkeeper said it wasn't a goal. This had a major starting point of why they introduced goal line technology and how it's become what it is. As you can see in this photo here, this is kind of what it is. It's kind of sensors on the insides of the post which tell you whether it went over or not, and the referee wears like a wrist watch which will flash on his watch, goal or no goal. Vanishing spray helps a lot as well, which is what I've talked about. In this, basically the reason for this is it stops people from, when they're in the wall for a free kick, it stops them taking a few steps forward and cheating. It also stops the player from, when he's about to take the free kick, from throwing the ball forwards a bit. Can I just quickly take that photo off that, because it's covered the writing?
No, just go on, you can carry on. It's referee radio.
Unfortunately, the picture's covered my writing a little bit, but the referee's radio has helped a lot, because now, instead of the referees running over to the sidelines and the linesmen make a decision, they can now just simply speak over the radio and make the call between each other, so they can come to a verdict on whether, such as if it was a penalty decision or a free kick, or even if a player was deserved to be red carded or yellow carded. These are the types of equipment, and it's helped because, as I've said before, the boots there, they were just too heavy, too clumpy, and they just couldn't be worn, and they wasn't very practical to play in. But the ones here generally are promoted by Cristiano Ronaldo, who's the world's best player. He wears them on a regular basis because he's sponsored by Nike. They're very light, and it gives you a lot of pace because they are just very strong. The studs give you that bit of more movement on the floor because the studs stick into the ground. The footballs have changed, as you can see, from this one to this one. That was very heavy, not very practical, hurts your feet when you kick it. Whereas now that one's light, doesn't cause injuries, from like when you're heading it and kicking it. It only had problems when the Jabulani ball was introduced in the World Cup. Everyone thought it was too light, but since then, no one's really spoken about any problems with the footballs, and I think they're a very good development in football. I've already spoken about the shin pads, how one's too light, too heavy, and then the other one's nice and light and just as strong. Finally, with the tops, you know, one's too baggy, keeps you too hot. There's that one, the thinner one now, the more practical one. It's thin, it's tight, it's, you know, air cooled, keeps you cool and stops you from overheating. Cameras and other improvements. Now there's been a lot of minor improvements that I've not really spoke about, such as TV scoreboards. As you see in stadiums now, big plasma TVs where it gives you the scores and provides replays and stuff at half time. Electric advertisement boards. This benefits clubs because obviously they can advertise more companies making more money for their club. Under pitch heating, which is a very good introduction to football. Basically now, such as in winter when it's snowing, you can basically melt the snow, makes the pitch playable, so you don't have to call games off, which is what we used to have to do. Cameras have moved on a hell of a lot in the last 15 years. Now, as you can see in these photos, at half times and at the end of the matches, Gary Neville and other Sky pundits have their plasma, which they can press on players, move them up, speed play up, use slow motion, freeze the play, you know, put arrows on where players should go. You know, it kind of gives you that. It's crazy how many things that they can do with the TVs and how they can do it. But it helps a lot because it gives you a better analysis on the game. And basically, that's my presentation.
Well done. Right, a little bit of feedback, and just on your presentation. I thought your presentation was brilliant. Just a few little minor teething problems. There's just a few sentences I didn't like how you worded it. You'd put like hell and stuff like that on it. You might want to tidy your language up on there.
Alright, sorry.
Obviously, your picture covered some of your words, but that's just a little typo. But other than that, you've managed to navigate Prezi really well. Question for you, right? Do you think equipment has improved because the facilities have improved? What's your thoughts on that?
I think the facilities have improved, which has kind of, you know, made the equipment, you know, everyone's thinking, well, if that's